up against Geekay Esports, who's been making an absolute tear of this entire tournament. I'm so excited to get into this one, folks. We're hitting the big red button. Let's jump into Japan and see who has what it takes to take this victory.
And if they do, what a path for GK, W7M, BDS, now G2. But even with their 2-0s, even with the performance GK has had, even going into this, just as I felt going up against W7M and BDS, I still feel the same, that surely this one is just a bit too ridiculous. Surely GK can't topple G2 on one of their favorite maps, one of their most deadliest terrains. But they just might do it. We'll have to see. I think a good ban from GK to start. Take down that Ying. Don't let G2 completely disorient your defenses to start. And the follow-up from G2, take down one of the primary ops that the attacking team will use to open up a site like Tea and Karaoke, being that Montaigne.
Yes, indeed. The Ying also coming out, fantastic execute utility. And as Foxy was talking about, this is a map where you don't see a lot of huge sweeping plays happen. It usually builds up to an execute moment, and that's when we see the big plays start to pop off. Ying, a huge piece of that puzzle. They're going to take that away. No more catalyst for some of those more high-flying antics, but we could see the gaps filled in other ways. As we go down the line, though, Solus also going to be banned out. I love this spot ban here from G2. This is going to open up their drone phase so very much, as Solus will not be nearly a detriment as she sits this game out.
The Valk ban as well to end from GK will stop, big plays that are informed by intel from players like Alamo, who's having an amazing tournament. I believe the #1 highest rated player in the tournament so far, playing lights out inside of Atlanta through the 2 maps they've played through the beginning of the Swiss stage. But we finally get into it. We do not need to wait any longer in what could be one of the most exciting matchups of the Swiss stage if GK just keep up the pace they have set and the momentum they have built. It might just happen. Of course, G2 could demolish them. It's possible. But even then, I just want to believe for a little longer.
Let's just exist in this moment for now, because I'm damn giddy about what we have in front of us. Yeah, let's just all bask in this right now. It's a 0-0 scoreline. A MENA region team, GK, is up against world champions. And not only that, folks, but everybody here thinks that they have a snowball's chance in hell. It's actually pretty impressive. So we're here. We're now. Let's see what is going to go about. Let's see how our mentals change, how things are influenced throughout this game. There's so many different ways that this could go, and I'm here for all of them.
In one way, of course, with G2 starting the attack on Skyscraper, one thing they are notorious on this map is never letting the defense catch their breath on this map, whether it's with ops like Ying that are banned, or with ops like Amaru that Alamau is playing, or even just something simple like coordinating on Black Stairs, throwing a nade, destroying the player there, that we saw Bleed do, for example, last night against SQ. G2 have the attacking side on this map so well prepped and force the defense that already feels constricted by a very tight, close quarters map, even more so by the amount of utility and pressure they apply to these aggressive players. We have a couple. Trickst on that top floor, but also the Azami leader playing inside of Shrine. G2 will, of course, do their due diligence, open up the main exterior angles, but Alamau already inside a house, destroying the barbed on the stairs.
Attackers have located
He's going to be on the Amaru as well. This character, fantastic for making high-flying plays. Like we were talking about the prep phase, it's all about building up to the execute, and Hashom is going to be the first one to strike in this series. This will take down Benja.
Oh!
Noodle will get one as well. And G2, what's happening here? I know those players are mostly around repels, especially for Benja's sake. I think he was still over on the karaoke side of things, but hard to say. More likely get those playbacks later on. But G2 worse for wear because of these 2 initial volleys.
Have to reset with half the round to go. Of course, it might be the defensive side on Skyscraper, but given G2's history, their performance on attack, even getting a 3-3 or a 4-2 half for GK by the end, even starting on the defense, will be so helpful when they inevitably switch to the attacking side. Doki going for that clear down below, has intel on one player playing inside of Exhibition, but just 1 frag grenade remaining. This is a great time to make it a 4v3, but it needs to land. This grenade has got to be what starts clawing this man count back. Otherwise, it's entirely down to gunfights through so small positions. He's got no intel. He's second-guessing himself. No decision on where he wants this nade to land, and it blows up in his face. Not a lot of damage done, but Alamau will then move up the house stairs. Knows there's somebody inside a dragon. Trix goes down. Oh, a great flick onto Hisham, but there's the trade they needed. Geekay have the man advantage, and with Leader establishing that kill, their lead is not erased.
And that's the biggest issue right there is, yeah, Alamau gets a lot of heavy lifting done, and there for just a split moment is able to equalize, but Geekay, so many people in place. Well, some nice utility management here from Leader as he'll seal the door to Terrace. Only 20 seconds remain for G2 to try and get in, and once again, just showing how difficult these offensive sides can be on Skyscraper.
Struggling to push through doorways, through very linear positions, and they've got a disadvantage as well. Geekay either have to throw or Virtue's got to get some huge picks entering into the site. The minibar player does end up falling, but Doki does as well. First defense going the way of Geekay, and the individual plays they go for, specifically from players like Hashom, not countered in the first round.
All right, let's see these replays, because I want to see what the heck happened here initially. We got two big picks, especially for Benja's position. Just want to see if he was giving up the goods or exactly what happened in that situation, because, I mean, Geekay were able to start things off very early on, and, I mean, G2, losing those two big bodies, you're really never going to be able to pull it back across the line on a map like Skyscraper.
No, it's so difficult once you're on the attacking side going into that disadvantage. Because at least on the defense, because the attack has to push in through just those single doorways, if you're the defense, you might be able to honestly line up two huge picks and then get the advantage back. But on attack, it's so much more difficult. Unfortunately, for G2 in that round for the 3v5, it's simply not going to happen. Rough go on the attack to start, but there's a lot of time to recover as it's Exhibition and T this go, or on the previous round. Now it's Karaoke and T, the normal primary bomb site. Second up for Geekay.
10 seconds left before insertion.
All right, well, let's see the tail end of that one, but Benja and Uno, definitely the two biggest pieces of the puzzle from that last round. We'll see if they can try and fix things up. Benja's going to move away from the line. They're not even going to have the line in the mix anymore. And honestly, I like the addition of the Gridlock here. Obviously, she's been getting a lot more play because of her frag grenades, but up against teams that can take these pivotal swings, those track stingers can definitely have their own set of rules to force the defense to abide by. G2 is also going to have Osa in the mix here for Alamau. Great decision here, too, as this is going to be T and Karaoke. And this is one of Osa's best sites on this map, especially if you can try and get her around Black Stairs.
Almost a substitute for Monty in this position. You use those Talon shields in a very similar way and have similar flexibility as well by just holding that shield and moving across the long black hallway to get onto the railing position. Bit of problem on the Geisha wall at the moment, but nothing I don't think G2 haven't encountered before. It's simply a mute jammer. All they need is that EMP. Open the wall is. You know, Selma will find a purchase on the Geisha wall too, in fact, to make it a walkable position. But Benja, 2 rounds in a row now. The first one to fall as finding these roamers, not even roamers, an on-site player. It's just too difficult.
He swung black balcony. There's nobody else in the area. He was the only one playing outside there, and the mute just swings off the info of, I believe, Benja breaking the door and kills him instantaneously. And really, I just don't think that G2 is prepared for Geekay to try and take it to them in these moments. They're finding these gaps where G2 feels comfortable, where there shouldn't be pressure normally boiling over, and they're getting these huge kills.
2 rounds in a row, Geekay have got the 5v4. At least this time, it's not a 5v3 in rapid succession. So comparatively speaking, more workable for G2, but what do they have? Nobody really even inside the building. No control established onto the bomb site. Just the Geisha wall opened up. Final Selma goes out to try and open up a new angle, and it will into Geisha, but Leader's pulled back. He's playing on the doorway into the interior. Big kill from Doki as Key gets a little aggressive on that shrine window. Man advantage, claw back, and oh, but no! Not a response. Instead, Geekay steal it away from G2.
Noodle feeling himself on that one. The shoulder check right into the swing. Practically perfect mechanics as he only gets tagged twice there, I think. Alamau, though, will be able to bring it back to an equal position. Now start paying attention to this drone game. They only have 3 drones, and this is when things get really risky. You have to start trying to fly blind. Doki's going to try and move his way in. Sees leader, slips it through the cracks. He'll be able to adrenal surge and back up. Might be able to take 1 extra round out of that, but it's going to get pretty risky here. Alamau with very minimal time has to try and get this bomb planted. He must swing in. They'll try and flood their way in from T2, but they'll lose Doki in that process. Virtue trying to fly through. Alamau now with a goo mine in his foot. We saw this in the last game. We might have a repeat, but he'll be able to get the plant going, and he'll have to immediately hop off the case after Virtue goes down. And Geekay are capable of playing Skyscraper to its fullest potential. Oh man. Skyrim.
I mean, we might have the Dragonborn in this game. Wow! Early timeout from G2.
Timeout.
2 rounds slipped away. All GK did was win the primary bomb sites on Skyscraper, and Romalo is so concerned with what he's hearing in the comms, he's hit the timeout.
I mean, dude, you got to hit a reset in a moment like this. You know, GK are getting away with way too much. Let's listen in and see what they got to say.
Exhibition, we do half split, okay? The same for exhibition, okay? We can do next round the default round and also the half split, because it's gonna be good because we force a team play and we team play and let's go.
Yeah, it's just that. I think the first thing Romalo said there, play those trades. That is going to be the pathway to victory for G2 against GK with the play they're going for, because you have Key swinging on that doorway, right? Look at that. Great timing, just a pre-fire. Doesn't even see the gridlock necessarily. And sometimes you're going to be in positions where playing for trades is difficult. But if you have someone on that doorway, just on the off chance that someone like Key or like Noodle might swing, you can make that a 4v4 and still keep the same general pace you had going up to that point in the round. I think that is definitely what G2 need to focus on, not leaving those gaps, but also more importantly, making sure that everyone at least has a buddy close by to trade it back if GK do end up getting aggressive.
And that's the thing. That's the highlight right there for GK, is the fact that they're playing active positionings in areas that people usually don't. That's why Key gets that moment right there, because people aren't used to somebody just playing the hallway right here and trying to battle back against that door. It's usually a pretty big risk. But obviously, works out for GK. 2 big rounds for them, and total agreement with what G2 wants to try and do decision-making wise. Try and keep a battle buddy around you, and it's hilarious because back in the day, that was G2's entire strategy, is the 5-second, I can't remember the heck Pengu called it past that, but either way, essentially, if you're outside of 5 seconds of each other across the map, you're probably screwing things up, and G2 can probably apply that here amicably.
But nowadays, I mean, 5 seconds might even be a little bit too much with the amount of aggression we've seen.
I would want you existing in my pocket, Carter, if it was my world.
With how much aggression has really developed in the meta over the past couple years, with players feeling more comfortable to take engagements like we've seen Key taking, that 5 seconds maybe should be more 3, 2, depending on the timings of what you have going for. You just got to make sure somebody's around to play that 4v4, and not exactly what I was thinking, but look at this double hard breaching just to try to open up this Geisha wall, make sure they can open it up successfully, and they will be able to do it without the Maverick breaching torch needing to be used even a little bit. But of course there are GK defenders contesting this. Trix, another one of the standout players on GK, with those Kiba barriers all charging up in his pocket, looking to waste even more time. Breach be damned.
When he is the central focal point of this G2 offense right now. You have Alamau in the back karaoke window. Uno trying to assist with some of the angles over here towards Geisha. Now it's up to Doki to try and swing things through, but he's got a lot of angles to check. Ashom will go down. G2 will have the man advantage for the very first time in this set. It's looking much more solid than what we saw previously, and it's all because they are playing the same portion of the map actively this time around, Carter.
Overwhelming force going the way of G2. You have somebody playing the karaoke repel, flashbangs going into the Geisha window, and Doki pushing in through the Geisha breach. That's the coordination we need to see from G2 to clear these positions. And then they get a kill on Hashom just to make things even better. Benja catches Noodle rotating over by the Shrine position. Unequivocally the strongest round for G2 up until this point, but can they keep the advantage? Will they choke it away? He's taken down Doki, but there's still a minute remaining. Plenty of time for G2 to close out this round, even with intel being relayed to Key. Knows someone's just creeping up through the T position. Instead, it's Benja Master who spots him. A 3K in round 3 from Benja, but a basically flawless round for G2.
Much better showing here from G2. You have the 2 patient players over on the far side of their setup, and you have the 3 playing Geisha to set things up, to try and eventually build up for a kitchen plant, but you really don't need that if you kill everybody, right, Carter? So it ends up working out for them in that way. I especially loved Benja's positioning that we saw over on the Dragon side, just patiently waiting. He knows that GK have to eventually try and deal with this man advantage, right? And he finds Noodle immediately swinging in, ends up, you know, patching things together for himself there for a triple kill after those 2 initial rounds definitely did not go his way.
One thing that G2 always say about Benja sometimes is wise beyond his years, it seems, and the patience, despite the numbers he's putting up, and a far cry from his days on Heroic, he sometimes is the one to hold that angle instead of just send it into the side. That's what Doki's for, anyway. And in that round, if you give him intel, give him players holding his cross and flashbangs to make it even worse, he'll pick up that kill on a lone defender. That's the type of clears we need to see from G2 moving into these next rounds, moving back to Exhibition and T. The ability to focus on one position, cut off any rotations, dump in utility, then send Doki or somebody else in to pick up that kill. That is how the attack picks up rounds for Skyscraper, and that's what G2 has done in previous games and seems to be implementing again.
Well, they have to stay true to the course here, Carter. That's the thing about this. When it comes to GK, we've seen time and time again that they've been able to pull some valiant efforts, some very random positions, turn water into wine. Now, these defenses at least have 2 under their belt. G2 looking to try and get through their own on this offensive set. Alamal's going to start things off on the west side here again. We're going to have triple hard breach this time around, as well as some nades and some logic bombs here. Benja quite loud with the sledge nowadays, but should work out for him. We haven't had the first logic bomb go out yet. It's actually going to be Doki actively droning in Benja here.
To get into position to use these frag grenades from below. Benja doesn't have intel on that player on the top floor. Puts the grenade back in pocket. Noodle, unfortunately, on concrete at the moment. Too far out of Benja Master's range and utility of those grenades. But Geisha, he might just have more success there. Hisham knows someone is outside on this rappel. Nobody's usually on this balcony, and he crosses. Doesn't find the engagement just yet. There's, again, more pressure from G2, opening up those karaoke walls. Hisham picks the exact right time to back off. You've wasted 1 minute 20 seconds. G2 are just starting to get to these entry points. Back up, play drum with the rest of your team.
Oh. Well, Uno's going to see the Kicks Elysian over there, so they'll know that he's around the area. Hisham's going to take a little bit of damage from the nade of Benja. Still has another one of those pocket as well. Able to breach this wall, open, and a nice find there from Virtue. Once again, it's going to be down to the patience as they clear out Geekay here. Try and force them back and make things a little bit more difficult for them. Hisham will be able to take out another drone, but that's not a kill that they so desperately need. And that's a huge moment there from Benja as they are dissecting Skyscraper right now.
Again, the patience from Benja. He's been in that position for 1.5 minutes and finally finds his man. Another 5v3 established for G2. Last time GK were in this position, 1 round to go. They only got 1 kill, and G2 converted the advantage in the opening pick acquired so early on with barely any sweat by the end of the round. And here they reset again. Use those Selmas that Virtue still has to open up an angle between Terrace and Shrine. Cut off some of the most powerful rotations the defense has. Often they can stop the attack on those 2 doorways, but this time it is an angle for the benefit of G2.
30 seconds remaining. There is a realm of possibility here for GK.
A bomb has been
He swings in. He'll be able to take down Doki. Continues the tirade, but Alamau has the opportunity. Not able to take him down, though. They know this player has to be around the area, but they don't have any nades. Noodle will take 1, but it's a 2 versus 3 now. Leader tucked in behind Dry Bar. Knows he has 2 over on the trophy side. They'll swing through, but what a find from Alamau. They only need a home for this case now, Carter. Alamau knows they have to try and hunt him down. Him and Benja go for the full clear of the site. They won't even let him exist. They immediately carve out the cancer. And it's 2 rounds to 2 now for G2 as they wake up.
They're playing like world champions. W7M started off cold. BDS left gaps for GK to exploit, but after 2 rounds lost in a timeout, G2 look unstoppable on these attacking sides. Just barely dropping any bodies once they go in for the execute, but the advantage they gain early on, a 5v3 both times. It is more than enough ground to keep GK out of this round.
And a perfect timeout a stellar example of what you should be using those for. They shut it down early and like, nope, let's just not let this get too far down the line. Talk to G2, and I especially love the decision making to not only, you know, obviously start playing for trades, but the way that they split the map up, right? You have those positions downstairs that play so handedly specifically into Drum, Carter, and we don't see that exploited enough, in my personal opinion, because we, you know, when it comes to Skyscraper, we play Drum all the time. It's a very pivotal position around the map, but G2 go that one step further, and they use that verticality from down low to dislodge these players and get some huge kills in an area where they really needed to get rid of Hasham.
And Romalo also obviously giving the right words in the timeout, but the G2 players implementing it pretty much immediately in the next round and in round 4, as you said. I mean, Benja playing patiently down below, shutting off the rotations for the defense back through the bomb site. Just keep doing that and you might very well win, but Alamau taking a lot of damage early on. On the Grim, put down to 50 HP just as he steps foot out of spawn, but Geekay will sometimes be able to get those aggressive peaks early on. But the early to mid round for these past 2 attacks have been G2's control in and out. Surely now it should be a similar position with intel on key from below, but he somehow dodges the nade, only put down to the same HP as Alamau.
G2 are so solid at combo and utility right now. They use that Grim to dislodge and immediately feed the nade from underneath. A masterclass on how to communicate with your team. So we've seen time and time again. We saw a little bit earlier from Virtus Pro on some of their adjustments, but G2 is showing it on full display here. You can see the cogs rolling and all of these brains across the board. G2 applying the pressure that's necessary to GK. They've been getting away with so much against some of the best teams in the world, and it seems like G2 might have them cornered finally.
They've certainly got their number of these past 2 attacks. This is the tipping point for GK. Can you adapt like you've done so against better opponents before? But how do you adapt to a man who simply doesn't miss shots? Doki now 4-4, Alamau as well 4-1. And G2 just careening into Geisha. The leaders dodge those Bs. He's tucked in the corner and Doki's distracted by a player down below. He pushes forward. They don't know about Leader's position. He plays so patient with those Bs and now retakes control of Geisha. But G2 still have plenty of angles. All dismantled by Key and Noodle. Right as Uno turns away, that's when Leader gets his second in round 5. GK, just with a little bit of patience and a little bit of luck, have stopped the momentum from G2 in round 5. Benja forced out of the building. Key holding the angle with a shotgun. 1 HP doesn't matter. 1 slug will do it. GK retake their lead.
Nice one, Leader. Nice one.
Very well done there from GK. And as Key said, very well done from Leader there, because if Leader does not accomplish what we saw inside of Geisha, that round becomes a really big problem for GK. But Leader's adamant, his patience, his ability to just sit there and wait things out around those Bs and just trust the bloom, right? It's not going to come my way. Everything's going to be fine. And he takes out Doki, all because Doki was so ready to try and kill that player inside of Karaoke.
What a statement for Leader this event as well. Obviously having the issues with Heroic, not having a great time.
Crazy storyline for him and Noodle, man.
I mean, if you felt that his value was ever in question, same with Noodles as well. I think what they've done with this team, not only just coming in, but playing well individually, but not completely taking over the roster, but saying, all right, you guys have this, we have this, let's meet in the middle, make something magical. Everyone on this roster, from Tricks down to Leader, but specifically Leader and Noodle, this has just been a great statement for what they can bring to a roster in the server and outside of it.
I mean, Heroic have got to be punching the air right now, legitimately, because Leader, Noodle, and Uno all in this game, and they've all been making the proper calls, proper plays, dude. You know, it's like, guys, you had so much value. What happened, you know?
So sometimes it takes another project to really reveal what a player can do. We obviously knew what Uno can do from the Prime days years and years ago. Leader and Noodle, some newer faces, at least to maybe us North American folk, for example. Very, very good showing from them, hopping onto this GK roster. The defense has guaranteed themselves an even half to this point, and they are committing to the playstyle that they know best. Hasham 1-5, not having the standout performance he's had in the Swiss so far, but he shifted to the Vigil to go for another very deep lurk inside of the map. Doki's on the hunt. But will that ERC cloak the Vigil? We hear Z-Pigs.
This is one of my favorite rat spots in this whole map here, Carter. Some solid spots around the bathroom, but that area seldom gets droned out. This is not gonna work out for Noodle in the slightest. Great drone work there from G2 to be able to eclipse him inside of Terrace.
Again, even if G2 dropping rounds, round 5 still had a great setup. It was just a big individual play from leader that you sometimes can't account for.
Okay. How does this play go with Hisham? That's the key thing here. The one thing to always notate about Vigil is that ERC7 backpack, yeah, it's all well and good, they can't see you, but it also lets everyone know that a Vigil is on the board.
And on the board as well, but it might not even matter for G2. As you can see, they basically completely cut the site in half. They have Benja and Doki specifically cutting off the first floor rotation for that Vigil. And with Alamau's presence on the second floor as well, Hasham's pathway back to the bomb site is very much in jeopardy.
We're halfway through the round now, and it's more heavy lifting to be done, but G2 have to be happy with this prime position that they've built. And at one of the kunai down here, Leader's gonna go for the swing, but oh, count your lucky stars there, Lead. You should have been dead to rights, but fortunately enough, it's gonna be Hashom actually that gets the kill down low. I think Doki tried to sneak up the stairwell and was found instead from Hashom's position as he was patiently waiting behind the sushi bar downstairs. Alam out. Also trying to follow suit here, but no follow-up necessary as Hashom has already vacated the premises.
Uno will now repel in, but Leader just around the corner. Probably gonna go for the swing, but Uno is ready for it. The patience of a Leader right there, but the frags from Geekay, the young guns coming alive and keeping G2 on their toes. Hashom now hitting the flank on the top floor. Key so desperately wants to swing this breach, and the crosshair placement works. Dome's Virtue outside of the house wall. Another shot by Trix to make this a 1v3 for Uno. Hasham hitting him from the back, and someone else in minibar. Oh, it's so over. 4-2 for GK. They take the lead dominantly on those defense.
Well, count your lucky stars, G2, that your coach called the timeout when he did, because that could have turned into a really bad defensive half if GK was capable of taking any more rounds than what we just saw. G2 obviously getting the 2 necessary rounds for the offense, so gonna be very happy with that as they will finally be able to take control of the more dominant side of Skyscraper. And they're actually gonna head to Kitchen and Barbecue as their very first site for this half.
Perhaps just to catch GK off guard as well. I mean, G2...
And there it is. I told you, man, it never gets droned out. It never does. Even against G2. I do this in ranked games.
Listen, if gaps are going to be left, we know GK can and will exploit.
And that's the key thing, right? You have to try. That's the thing. When people think about like competitive level siege and all that kind of stuff, they're like, oh, this would never work.
And but especially in a best of 1, that's the time to try it. G2 has less time to adapt in a best of 3. They don't have a second or third map to rely on. Sure, it's a little bit of roll of the dice, but it's an FPS. It always is to a certain extent. And if you just keep getting a little bit lucky and have the skill to make up for the rest, it can work. But as you said, G2 have got the 2 attacking rounds we often find necessary. There's a lot more potential there just with G2's history on this map. But GK still getting that 4-2, very, very important. And G2, again, this being a map firmly in their pool, Barbecue, Exhibition, T, doesn't matter. They are well practiced on all of these bomb sites, and I think specifically Alamo on the Fenrir, Benja, Virtue. Look at all of these traps that G2 are bringing to make sure players like Hasham, like Key, aren't just able to lurk in and get a free pick.
It's very smart strategy. Let's see if it can potentially lead to anything of substance for G2. Definitely going to make entering the building a lot harder. We know that a lot of people like to put those razor blooms as well as frost mats around windows. Doesn't seem like there's anything over there from Benja's perspective, but doesn't mean that there isn't something lurking up in the rafters. We'll be playing around this drum area for now, but they're trying to assist a bit with Geisha, opening up some new lines of sight with that Uzi, as it does have pretty good soft destruction. So far, so good for G2 in the first minute, but a lot of drone work coming out from GK. They're trying to understand more on what's happening around this site.
On Barbecue, one common gap left by the defense is that delivery position. We've seen you looking at right now, but there's one defender in Alamau, more importantly, playing by the bar, but a nade to anticipate that. Doesn't take down Alamau. If that lands in a slightly different position, that's a 5v4 from GK, but at least they've softened up Alamau for taking later in the round. X-Key prepped outside the kitchen window to hop in with the diffuser later on, but GK still probing, fishing around the map, looking to either cut off rotations or hit some nades from below.
In the 3X site, huh? On the 417? Don't see that one every day, but Sean can likely make the most of it. 417 is a very dangerous weapon when it comes down to it. Could take out Alamau in one shot, actually, right now, if he ended up getting tagged. But GK doing their best to try and be patient about this. See if G2 wants to try and deliver any swings or blows from this defensive prospect. But as of right now, nothing really to say. G2 only have that logic bomb going off in their pocket, waiting the arrival of GK as it's warming up now. You can see that it was going to be a bathroom offense this entire time, and Noodle will finally swing through.
And he'll make it in, but Key down with the diffusers. They've never cleared out Geisha. It might seem like it's all going GK's way, but they failed to clear out that top floor, and they walk into the angles held by G2. Likely a flawless round unless Hashom can just pick off one impactless frag. There's plenty of defenders on G2 that could die to one DMR shot, but he doesn't even get the chance. G2 a flawless to begin their defensive rounds.
And G2 are trusting the process when it comes to their structure and their strategy. You know, like there was no real reason to try and overswing there or even really get aggressive. GK was completely boxed out from the time that they got into the server. Really had no idea how they wanted to go about things, and I mean, you really can't blame them. There's barbed wire strung about the map. There's a bunch of traps everywhere. You can't get overly aggressive, otherwise you might run into something like a razor bloom and have somebody swinging you at the same time. And on top of all of that, just really no way for them to try and collapse on that top floor without taking some very considerable damage.
So, a win on the off-bomb side for G2 to start. GK struggling on that clear. So focused on the delivery position, but the Geisha clear to add on to it not working out. As we move to Karaoke and T, what will G2 put forth that GK must respond? Well, with the Azami, it's going to be a lot of holding the choke points in Drum and Shrine. Always such a difficult prospect for the attack, but as well, teams or defenses will often hold Exhibition and T early on, and given the amount of soft walls in that position, that's very often where the attack might find an early pick, even if you watched the SQ game yesterday, just pre-firing randomly.
Sometimes you gotta send it. Think somebody's in the area, you might as well be shooting. Especially if you're swinging it. I mean, you're giving up your own info at that point as well, so this makes a bit of sense. Saw out of GK yesterday, as you were saying. Some pretty impressive kills coming from situations like that, too. Specifically for Key, I do believe, saw some pretty incredible things, especially up against Gunner, poor guy. But I digress. G2 trying to trust the process like they did in the last round. Rest on this strategy setup. See if they can possibly get some things going for themselves. GK are going to do their damnedest to get these nades in down low and try and find a home for these. And by a home, I mean a kill. Frag grenade out initially, headed towards the Virtue's location, but won't strike him true as he's actually right around the wall there on some solid ground.
This is how G2 love to attack this bomb site, is using these nades from below, either on stairwells or through the floor. I mean, it's how many teams on Skyscraper do, but G2 know their power first and foremost. So they're all tucked either on the opposite side of a wall or on the hard floor of a certain part of the map, making sure that GK aren't able to just get a 5v4 by bypassing a gunfight. Hashom lose a lot of HP to start, and he's also used both of his nades. He's got some backup, but where GK normally can consistently find this opening pick and hit a gap early on with Noodle's first nade. He takes down Uno, and now GK have something to work with.
Oh, especially after Doki goes down. I think Doki was trying to hold things down low, but Noodle slips through the cracks. Another frag grenade out. That could have been a detriment to Benja, but he's going to try and replace things over on the restaurant stairs. Try and hold down this rotation and make it to where they can't try and force their way up top. With that logic bomb out, Benja might be in some hot water now. Should be a known quantity, but we're about to find out. Let's see how this swing goes as he walks up. He'll take out the Finka, but it's an immediate trade for Noodle, as it's a triple kill for him so far in round 8.
He's got everything for GK, all the credit for their way into round 8. Looking to move up 5-3, but 30 seconds left. Alamau's got one smoke remaining, but can the defense set up a crossfire? How many gaps will GK leave that G2 can exploit? They've got this side, the main stairs locked down. Alamau still holding out behind the black stair shield. Leader shut out for just a few more seconds, but then he can move in and start putting that case down with only 13 seconds left. That T player, never mind, I was gonna say he needs to go big. He goes quietly into that dark goodnight. 5-3 now for GK. If they just keep clawing rounds like that together, it might be close, but they might hit main stage.
They're doing a very solid job right now of maintaining patience and calm. And I mean, it's truly incredible to me that 3 of these players have never even graced an international stage. You're playing against 4 hammer lifters right now, and not, oh, this was back in 2018, 2019. This is this year. G2 just won a hammer this year, and Geekay are up 2 rounds on them on Skyscraper and putting offenses together on this map.
And it might seem like, oh, well, Noodle has to get all the credit, right? I mean, one big 3 can, they don't win that round, but that's sometimes what needs to happen on Skyscraper. You need something. It could be a player. It could be utility. Hell, it could just be luck.
Also, it's just the amount of pressure that GK is putting across the board. They have the drones working for them, all of the different crossfires built up around Geisha and stuff. There's a lot of distracting measures that to the untrained eye, you'd be like, oh, this guy's just killing people. But that is not the case at all.
And at the end of the day on Skyscraper, you need just something to work like that to break that stalemate. Because on Chalet, you can set the pace with utility, right? You can throw flashbangs in, throw Grimbees in, throw grenades in, and the defense has to react to you, right?
Yeah.
But Skyscraper is such a defender side of the map that even with pouring in that utility, they can still keep you at bay just with how hard those choke points in Drum and Shrine are to take. So even if Noodle gets a big 3K, you need something, whether it's a grenade or a player. And if they can just do that 2 more times, break that gridlock a couple more times, they might stun us all.
Time to make a new door.
Yes, indeed. Truly an insane series of events in between these 2 teams so far. It's Noodle on a masterclass so far in the frag department, but backed up by the rest of his team. And such a solid squad so far throughout this entire tournament. Leader's going to take a little bit of heat here, but be able to stay alive for the time being. Got to try and deal with, I believe, Uno in this position. He's going to take a little bit of smoke, but not enough to actually get smoke checked. Does have those impacts too that he can try and dance around with, but oh my, what a discovery here. A pre-fire through to try and create some angles on that door, and they've now downed Uno inside of Geisha.
They had that Z-ping on Uno's position. They're able to pre-fire, not confirm the kill. It'll be difficult for anybody to go for that res. Oh, somebody does. Noodle, just not enough time to react. So Uno back alive. Noodle tries to send in the nade, but it's not cooked, and he doesn't even make it past that wall. A huge pickup for G2 to keep that 5v5. Even if Uno's on low HP, he could bait himself and allow Doki to play off his contact.
Yeah, it was risky there from Alamau, but it pays off in spades for G2. This will keep GK at the gates for now. Noodle going to try and be the man of the hour, be the X factor for GK as he has been on a round-to-round basis. Try and push his way into Geisha here soon, but they're very worried about the prospect of Uno still trying to hold things down in this area, and why wouldn't you be? Uno still trying to play actively. And he'll get 1 for his troubles. Gets it down to the 3 versus 3 here with a minute remaining.
And Hashom just around the corner of a 3v2.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Alamau knows this risky position because of that kill Hashom acquired earlier. He knows that he cannot move. He cannot rotate back through Shrine, because if he does, Hashom is there right waiting. He'd have to get the pick. He'd have to be aiming true. Doki down low. Hashom creeps forward. He pre-aims correctly. 3v2 established, and Doki low HP. The Jaeger as well, also inside of Terrace. The rotation is anything but secure. He's trying to use this long angle to get the pick, but Key storms on in. They just need to play the trade to move to match point, to force 3 rounds in a row from G2. Benja waits, knows time is on his side, drops the case. One of the most important 1v1s Hashom's ever taken! And he gets stunned by Benja Master! Match point will have to wait a little longer because Benja keeps G2 in the game.
You call the kid's number, and he makes the most out of the situation. Benja Master, moments. Oh,
you don't want anybody's confidence shaken. You don't want anybody's resolve weakened. As we get back into Skyscraper, it's a T and karaoke defense. G2 to to start out round 10.
I especially like the addition of the Kaid here for this defensive setup from G2. It's something that we didn't see GK really utilize, but also the more and more you look at these two respective lineups, GK do have Thatcher implemented, so pretty easy answer for this situation, but one that GK could have used on their defensive end because we never saw that answer from G2. So it could have been something to try and hold up some walls, but didn't really matter at the end of the day as they were able to get 4 defensive rounds under their own belt. Now for GK, back out and about on the board. We'll see if they can try and clear things out. That Thatcher will stick around, but a line shift across some other ops here. We'll get the Dokkaebi back in, as well as Noodle on the Nook.
One thing GK love is that Dokkaebi. Tricked, I'd be hard-pressed without even looking at anything. That's probably his most played operator, or at least these kinds of operators. You know the Lion, you know the Dokkaebi. But GK love having those tools for their full clears to make that roam clear a little bit easier. And with the addition of Key on that Thatcher, obviously he's been playing it a few times, but with that role in the lineup, there's got to be tricky with these Cades if he wants to make sure that hard breaching is wasted, at least a little bit. Noodle also, Sam, familiar position down below with the nades.
It's a question of when the info game rolls in up top. Don't want to try and fly by the seat of your pants when it comes to these extremely important pieces of utility. So time and time again, frag grenades open up the door to a lot of options for the offense. Could be time yet again. Breach will go open as that EMP will land without a hitch, and not really much to be said past that. The exothermic charge way too fast for Uno to do anything about with those electro claws.
Hashom in a key spot.
Bomb located
Down at the
by
bottom
attackers.
of Black Stairs. He's got 1 grenade remaining, Noodle as well. Remember, there's always tension on these defenses. The attack needs something with which to slice it. But for half the round, GK haven't found it just yet. They haven't made the progress they're looking for. As long as this time keeps ticking down with no action from GK, G2 are feeling more secure at holding off main stairs, holding off Black Stairs. Uno just swings down for a second, but it's still a 5v5.
Scary prospect there. Don't really think that he knew where it dinged at. He was a little worried about that frag grenade coming his way, but fortunately enough, it's on the other side of that door. A lot of goo mines working out for Dokis. You can hear them constantly entering the ankle of the GK offense. We're doing his damnedest to try and propel this team forward through this far side of the map. A missed shot there from both respective parties as Doki shot will go wide too. Bisham taking quite a bit of damage, and GK have to try and get one of these big picks, but it actually goes the way of the defense first.
GK just locked out of the bomb site. Even when Noodle tries to swing in, he's cut down by Doki. A player's been quiet in comparison to Benjamaster, but flirting with his second engagement. He's certainly been in a good spot in round 10. A 1v5 for Hashom as G2 in prime position to even the man count and the score line overall. 5v1, what are you to do as you stand in the face of G2's second flawless and a tied score line?
5-5. Great defenses here so far from G2 as they have been putting these things together even past the 2 timeouts.
And as we continue to move forward, Sam, I mean, that 1v2 from Benja, it's starting to age very, very well as G2 close this game. They tie it up. They move into a further defense. Kitchen and Barbecue, their first flawless round on this defensive side as well.
Yes, indeed. G2 making the most out of these situations. Alamau with a moment like Key, but even more aggressive there. But more of the Brazilian flair showing on that one as he just takes full breadth of the balcony, able to take him out. But it's been these exploitative moments from G2 that have been getting to GK's offense so far. And they have not been able to find an exact answer for it just yet. Yeah, around here, not really there, obviously, as they've only been able to get one since their defensive set, but now this is truly where they need to try and get things solved. But we're back to very similar straits. This is where G2 started things off for their defensive set, and it went so very well, especially with the amount of traps that G2 had at their disposal.
And still have at their disposal Banshees, Razor Blooms, Frost Mats, Goo Mines, and to make it even worse, Mute Jammers. Had some intel denial, and GK, even then, sure, the trap ops are problematic. It made the delivery lurk from Noodle not work, but they barely even cleared out Geisha on the top floor. So when they ended up finding control in the bomb site, it was a super easy retake for G2. And what do we see in the first 30 seconds? Key and Leader trying to open up the Geisha wall very quickly to take control of that hatch. There's nobody actually playing directly inside of Geisha right now. Uno, of course, is in karaoke, very close by, but everyone from G2 on a retake strat seem to be even playing retake just for the Geisha position.
Couple grabs here from Trix on the Brava drone. There's a Frostmat under this window as well. It's going to be the first minute expiring here for the offense as they've wrapped themselves around this top floor, but it's mostly just on the rappels for now. Doki's been the first one to pick somebody up. It'll be Hashom as he takes him out over on the Shrine side. I think he was flirting with the Shrine window there, and Doki able to nip that in the bud very quickly.
G2 feeling comfortable, GK playing slow, playing passive. This was the worry when they lost that 1v2. How would they react? How would they adjust to that big round loss, match point denied? And it's another very slow attack as they've had effectively Geisha control for a solid minute and 30. Only one player on that top floor, even close by, and GK still have not entered. They are still nervous. Noodle hops out the window down below. There's a wall in front of them with G2's logo plastered on, and they can't find one single hole.
GK gonna continue to try and smack their head against this metaphorical wall. Might become a real one here soon, as they'll eventually have to take the fights, but Trix will be able to at least take out Uno. It's going to open things up a bit as Noodle will break down the door here on the black side of things. Stuns out the hallway. Leader with a big kill. Now GK, how are we going to open up the rest of this site? They've got top control, but please remember that that site is downstairs. And yes, Virtue indeed with a big moment as he'll be able to take down Noodle.
One player going for the trade, though. Oh, he's only put to 1 HP, and he drops down successfully. GK aren't able to reestablish that man advantage as the Frost makes it back to the site. Trix also alone down below. If somebody from G2 peeks up or he dies as he walks in the site, they could regain the man advantage, but a huge heads-up play from Leader. Finds one, but only 7 seconds left. 2v2, Key, he's got the man with a diffuser, but there's nobody to cover! G2 keep control of the barbecue round, and they're the ones who take match point first.
G2 so unbelievably consistent. Not overstepping things on their defensive side at all. Might lose a body here or there, but it's mostly off of GK's efforts trying their damnedest to get into this building and force something out from G2. And obviously, eventually you have to move in certain situations, whether it be a frag grenade or something of the sort pouring in onto your location. So now for GK, a very unfamiliar feeling here on Skyscraper. Is this going to be the very first time that they are staring at a deficit?
This could have been 6-5 as well if G2 won that round, but GK had closed out the 1v2 against Benjamaster. They would still have a round to close this out in regulation. But now if there was ever a time to recapture some of that performance from the first half, it is now. Since the rehost, Hasham, Key, Noodle, some of the biggest players on GK, not a single kill through 2 rounds. It's Leader and Trix, the only ones able to muster any effort, and only in the round we just saw. Exhibition in T, round 12. What can GK bring? It has been slow. It has allowed G2 to hold all the angles they want. We need to see G2 falter in some position. Need to see GK reclaim that pace.
Well, Benji gonna go for the swing when it matters most. The aggressive nature of this play from him. Especially now, this is the last thing that GK probably thinks G2 is willing to do, but I see Benja really good for at least one in a situation like this. GK just not giving him any looks, so he'll choose to fall back as offense will start wrapping around this top floor. All the balcony will work, as well as the drones to start things off. That's what you always see on Skyscraper, and a huge misread here from Hasham as Benjamaster will get a huge kill over on the black balcony.
For the first time this tournament, it seems we see GK unsure. We see them making mistakes, making individual plays, or making them and being punished unequivocally. Major champs, Gamers 8 champs, it might mean one thing, but when you're the best team in the world, that is when the competition is the most fierce. Key sees a deployable shield, backs off the gunfight. Drone taken, but Alamau looking to seek an engagement. Oh, the shots miss, only barely. Benjo looking to shut GK out of Skyscraper. 2 kills for him in this round. Still getting on the aggressive, still keeping GK on their toes.
No answer so far here from GK. Doesn't seem like there's going to be either. Might just go quietly into the night on this one, although an adamant effort. Nice find there from Key. Won't be able to get the follow-up though, and it's Leader in a 1 versus 4.
Leader in a difficult spot. Gotta bring it back almost entirely. It seemed 5-3, potential 6-3 in their grasp. That GK might do the impossible. Beat some of the fiercest competition we have in Atlanta to make their way into playoffs. But at a 1v4, G2 knowing his position, Leader will pick up 1. But the miraculous Swiss run will not be over, but it will be a little less impressive. Alamau just holds close with a shotgun. That's all he needs to do at this point. Just swing, okay. Let's not start throwing. Just 1 HP, but as he vaults in, it's over. G2 make main stage, and GK are not out of it. They've certainly impressed, but the flawless run ends here as they take their first map